go. Now we can get started. Yay! Okay. So this morning's course is challenging your purpose. You know, we've been talking about purpose in the last two purpose courses. So I say, why not? Let's go ahead and challenge that for a little bit, you know. I mean, let's test the hypothesis out, as they would say in science. So we're going to do that this morning. But before we get started, if everyone could repeat after me the Empower People oaths. I, Tiffany Joy Greene, do solemnly swear to accept the lifelong obligation to hone my superhero powers and apply those superhero powers to the good of the people I serve. I will promote and add to the ongoing success of Empower People, its members, and the people, organizations, and communities it serves. I will help prepare the next generation of superheroes. I am driven to be a positive change agent for those I serve and interact with. And now superhero pose, except for Susie, because that would be dangerous.
But I agree.
Keep the hands on the wheel. I don't want you to get pulled over by a cop and said, she made me do it. Okay. So the learning outcomes today are understand the importance of reassessing and challenging your purpose. And then explore the factors that may lead to shifts of or growth in purpose, because as we, you know, go through our journey of getting older, more mature, just aging, there may be shifts in purpose. And develop resilience and adaptability in the pursuit of purpose. So for those who, everyone here today who's actually attending the course know me, but for those of you who are new, I'm Tiffany Joy Greene. I'm the founder of Empower People. You can find me on LinkedIn. I recently learned this weekend, you will also maybe spot me in my car because it's kind of unique. So maybe if you're in my area, you might see me cruising. I kind of, somebody stopped me. It was kind of interesting. I guess I'm #famous. No, I'm not. So I have 4 books, 2 of which you can find on Amazon and 2 of which you can find on the Empower People website. And you can look at those. Those also give you a kind of an idea of what I know, what my subject matter expertise is. But as you can probably tell by the Empower People name, I'm pretty passionate about empowering people and driving positive impact. I don't know. I think it's pretty clear. If not, please shoot me up. And now Ben, who is our coach for the program, will give him a moment to introduce himself.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to see you. My name is Ben DeBord. I'm the leadership coach here with the Empower team. And as you can see, I love this quote. The best investment you can make is in yourself. I believe that to my core. And I'm here to help you do just that. So glad to be here.
Awesome sauce. Yes, I still say awesome sauce and cool beans, not leaving my vocabulary. So then let's talk about challenging your purpose. So at the beginning of the course, I stated like, okay, we've talked about purpose for 2 courses because we're doing a stretch here of purpose-driven living and leadership. And now that you know, if you've taken those 2 courses, you've been drafting your purpose statement, you know, you're really intentional about your purpose and really making sure it's succinct and clear, not just for yourself, but if you're going to share that with others, well, other people get it. Well, it's kind of like science. It's like science, right? It doesn't really mean much unless you can test it out and make sure it doesn't fall apart. So that's why challenging your purpose is really important, because we may all think we have a purpose, but when push comes to shove and you may face some sort of adversity challenge, you may find out that that may not be a core value of yours. That may not be part of your purpose. So, and as we, you know, get older and as we evolve and we hit milestones, and I'm not going to point my finger at anybody, but everyone's going to know who I'm talking about, somebody who recently became a parent, purpose tends to shift as well, because these major milestones in our lives really force one to self-evaluate. And that doesn't mean and I'm a mom, and I can tell you when I became a new parent, that was a really tricky time. And that was a real big test of my purpose. And for a brief period of time, I thought I lost myself. And that can happen during the course of life. But then I realized, no, I'm still the same human being. My purpose is just it's evolved a bit. It doesn't make me a whole new person. Doesn't mean I have to drop who I once was. No, I'm still that person. It's just, it's growing, it's shifting a bit. And then you got to recognize the signs of purpose alignment. So does the purpose actually align with your life, with what you're doing, right? If it doesn't, then is it your purpose, right? And then if you have a circle of people around you, are their purpose, is there an alignment there? Are you surrounding yourself with people who are actually the antithesis of your purpose? So that's something to evaluate too. Now, when I say that, I believe in diversity and surrounding yourself with around people who have different frames of thought. Doesn't mean they have to think like you, remember. But if they're like, let's say your purpose is sustainability and you're wanting to prevent climate change, but your whole world is surrounded by people who do not believe in climate change, what does that mean? That's something to evaluate, right? And you want to embrace change and growth, right? That's called resilience. Nothing stays the same. We all know this, right? How many here have made it through life and have experienced no change? Raise your hand. Okay, we have no rocks here today, and even rocks experience change. They get eroded over time. So there's that. So everything changes over the course of time, right? So, and you have to embrace it. And, you know, there's all kinds of cliches, memes, gifs, videos, name it, all out there about change. And like, you know, when one door closes, another one opens, you know, every obstacle you receive, that just opens another door to opportunity. And, you know, they're all true. That's all very true. So when you're looking at your purpose and the necessity of challenging your purpose, you want to really make sure that your purpose doesn't just fall or adapt based on people you're around or circumstances you're around, because your purpose should stay fundamentally, the values of what that purpose is, what's behind the purpose should remain fundamentally the same. Now you might end up adding more values. You may tweak the values. That's the change component. That's the resilient component. But we're not really chameleons. We're not going to do a complete 180. Now, I could also argue, and we're not going to talk about this today, that there could be an opportunity to do that, but that's not what the focus of this course is. More times than not, the fundamental of who you are and what your purpose is, the root stays the same, but the resilience comes into a modification. Ben, I'll let you elaborate a little bit more there.
Yeah, thanks, Tiffany. You did great there. And I love how you shared that a lot of times, you know, our external circumstances change, and that I don't know if it, you know, does it change your purpose or does it better clarify your purpose? And that's what I love about this space we've created here with Empower is how can I explore and challenge and stretch and really define my purpose in this space before some, you know, big life change or some big external circumstances kind of forces it upon you. And, you know, what I've seen as a coach is when you spend time and really challenge the things that we believe, whether it's our thoughts, our beliefs, or our purpose, typically we, you know, it's like peeling that onion and we get a little deeper and get to know ourselves a little better. So super rewarding experience.
I can also share, and Ben, you can share too, but I'll ask Ben first and then I can share too, so I don't make him the singleton here. But how has your purpose shifted since like your late teens?
Yeah, you know, I think so. When I was a teenager, I knew everything, and I knew it's just expanded. It's expanded. You know, my vision as a teenager only went about this far in front of my face. And then, you know, I got a little older, got into a career, got a little longer. You know, I met my partner, had kids, I started thinking about the world they were going to grow up in, and like this whole vision just really expanded. Where when I was younger, and I'm not going to speak for everyone else, but I think it's somewhat of a common experience. You know, you're just looking right past the end of your nose. So in that way, it's changed, and also, you know, what we want changes, right? And our purpose, I think, is somehow tied to, you know, what we want in the world. And what I wanted when I was 19 looks a little bit different than now.
I think we're gonna have another time where we're gonna get together and find out what Ben wanted at age 19. I feel like there's that story there.
That might not be one for Facebook Live.
For me,
The
I
Braves to win the World Series.
That stayed the same.
For me, I would say, you know, when I was younger, my purpose was actually the same as it today. But what I didn't understand when I was younger, there was like this fixation on the how. How do I do it? And I got lost on the how was the definition versus the purpose being the definition. And it was very frustrating because I thought the label of the job was supposed to reflect the purpose, and I was having this issue of going, wait, like I'm trying to, like, the how isn't the purpose, right? The job title isn't the purpose. It's a means to achieve hopefully what the purpose is. But that was my biggest struggle from like a teenager and probably through my 20s. The purpose was the same, but the how, I kept getting lost in the weeds, as I say, with the how, which is very similar for those who are in business, because we know the purpose, but sometimes we get lost in the business and lose sight of the purpose, and we get stuck in the how all the time. But if we remain focused on the purpose, that actually gives us the best clarity. And that's what I ended up having to learn. It probably took me about a decade to really get that. Does that resonate with you, Ben, at all? I'm sorry for I'm sorry my story was that boring, that made you yawn.
No, that was like a sneeze that quit halfway on me.
Oh,
Sorry, I went off into space there for a minute.
well, I'm glad I could help you take off. So we're gonna move on now to external influences on purpose. So we have societal changes and global events. I mean, let's look at that. We just all have experienced a major one, which was the COVID pandemic, right? So how does that impact purpose? And what did we see during the COVID pandemic? Wow, that was a great opportunity for most people who were stuck at home to reflect on their purpose and not go back to the jobs that they had and completely shift gears. It really flooded the gig economy. It did a lot of things, new hobbies, like, so, you know, for all the negative, right, that may have occurred during COVID, and we don't want to lose sight of the lives that were lost during COVID, there were actually some positives that came up with COVID, because it gave people time to reflect. You know, we have economic shifts that impacts purpose. Social movements, you know, how does the social movements correlate or align with your values? And what role do you want to play in the world when it comes to that? So all those things, these influence purpose, right? It may accentuate your existing purpose. Again, it may go, I didn't even realize until this moment that this was like, this is something I really passionately care about, and I got to do something about it, right? And so that can, again, it doesn't mean you're, well, throw away my purpose. I mean, it makes it evolve. It gets maybe deeper. And then personal life changes. So I alluded to this before. Again, I'm not putting anybody on the spot, but parenthood, you know, that's a major milestone and life change, and that can cause you to really reflect on what your purpose is. And for those who have been or are going to go through that transition, there's also, speaking to that, I think there's this element of you may feel, not everybody, but you may feel a little bit selfish thinking about your purpose, because sometimes when you adopt that new title of mother or father, then your whole world and everything should reflect your child or children. And so you yourself are put on the back burner. And that's a whole other course, but just know that your purpose is fundamentally rooted in you and nobody else. Health issues, and that's come up with this particular group a few times, right? Health issues can impact purpose. So let's look at influence of new knowledge and experiences. You learn more, right? That's kind of like going back to the example with Ben of like, okay, so what's changed since your late teens, right? Well, you get new experiences, you get more knowledge. So that purpose, maybe the foundation may not change, but it may make your purpose a little bit more deeper. I think, you know, throughout my life, I'll speak to myself through knowledge and experience, the purpose that I had when I was a kid hasn't changed, but man, has it grown deeper. Like it's just gone deeper and deeper and deeper. I realized how many layers there is to it, where I didn't realize how layered it was in my youth. And then, you know, also when you have this purpose, because purpose isn't just about the job you do, it's also about understanding interests and hobbies that really fulfill that purpose in some way and fulfill your soul. So Ben, I'll give it back to you.
Thanks, Tiffany. Yeah, and when I look at this list, which is a great list, it, you know, what comes to mind is they're all these things force like shifts in perspective, right? And so it's when you have a new perspective, you get a deeper understanding of your purpose in life. Like, for example, in 2013, I got the opportunity to hike the Pacific Crest Trail. And so a friend of mine and I walked from Mexico all the way to Canada through California, Oregon, and Washington. And to have, there's just such a bizarre, different experience. And so to have that and completely leave my normal or regular life, I got a great perspective on what I was doing in my day-to-day, in my regular life, which I could not possibly get unless I went outside of it so I could look back and see it. And so I think in that way, all these things, you don't fundamentally change, but you get a more richer perspective, right? What if you found out today that you had 6 months to live? How would that change your purpose, right? And that's, you know, hopefully that's not, no one's going to get that news. But that's a new lens, right? That's a new perspective on your purpose. And so, like I mentioned in the slide before, like how can we play with different perspectives and explore and deepen our understanding of our purpose without actually having to have all these different changes at once? I think that's the magic sauce.
I like that, Ben. I like that a lot. So we're gonna move on to the next slide. That may feel a little awkward, but I'm looking at the time. It's 8:52, so I'm trying to keep it on schedule. Self-reflection and purpose reevaluation. I feel like Ben, you just kind of highlighted some self-reflection through that experience that you shared with us. So self-reflection, you've probably heard it, and for some, they might like, oh, roll the eyes, this is kumbaya crap. And me and my king got that word kumbaya in my head. I'm even have it in my commercial. It's crazy. But so self-reflection is really important. Now, not everybody has to self-reflect the same way. For me, I know that self-reflection is really important. I know that I can keep myself busy. I know that's a shock. I don't know where the nickname Manic Maple comes from, but I can keep myself busy every second of every day, so I don't have to think about me at all. That might be a trauma response. But it's really good not to do that. And it's really good to take time out of every day to reflect on yourself. And so whatever way works for you, whether it be, you know, journaling, meditation, long walks, I'm going to tell you something. that I think is really useful, especially if you're a verbal auditory processor. Take out your phone and talk to yourself and imagine yourself as your best friend, like that you're literally just telling, and then listen to that. That's going to be eye-opener for, especially if that's the type of person you are. So because some people don't like writing and journaling, that's another form of doing that, but in a way that may work better for you. But definitely take some time every day to reflect on your purpose. And then identifying conflicting values and priorities. So you may say to yourself, and I have here as an example, you may find that financial stability is your top, a top priority for you, but you keep doing these risk-taking adventures. You're an entrepreneur, you're investing in things like, so is it, is financial stability then really your core value, right? That's something to reflect on. And when and how to adjust your purpose. So, you have to really look at the time in which you're in today. Not the time in which you're going to be a year from now, 5 years, where you want to go, and not where you were in the past, but where you are today. And does your purpose reflect the person you are today? That's really what self-reflection is about as well. And I think it's easy for a lot of us to really focus on, most people kind of fall in one of the buckets. Usually most people don't fall in both. You're either the person who's constantly looking to the future or the person constantly looking to the back. But the magic happens today. We only can work with what we know today, the data we have today. So really, when you're self-reflecting, think about where you are today and the circumstances and the values that you have today as you self-reflect. Ben?
You crushed that one, Tiffany.
I'm shocked. I think, what's your preferred method of self-reflection? I know the answer. I think I know the answer, I should say.
I use a variety, but I try every day to do a device-free walk outside. And I'm a big fan of meditation. So those are good, but just in general, taking time, as you said, not being what I call on the dance floor, taking a bunch of actions, doing stuff. You got to get up to the balcony and reflect on where am I going? What am I doing? And in a world where we can be so busy so easily, you really have to prioritize and protect, and taking time to do that.
Also, I always use the reference, Ben, and I like this. You heard me say before too, which is like talk to yourself like your own best friend, right? How many people here love talking to somebody who's not paying attention to you and looking at their phone? Really? No hands? I'm shocked. So if you're going to take time to self-reflect, don't distract yourself. Give your best friend that attention that they deserve, right? Treat yourself like you'd like to treat others. Well, that sounds like the golden rule. So building resilience to purpose. So you got to be able to handle doubt and uncertainty, stay true to core values while adapting, creating a flexible purpose framework. And part of this is you also got to be able to say no. That's difficult, right? Especially for people who may be people pleasers. But if something does not coincide or align with your purpose, you got to be able to say no. You also got to be able to allow yourself, like we were talking about earlier, like your late teen self versus whatever age you are today, an opportunity to grow and deepen and mature, right? You got to be able to do that. And that's part of resilience. So I want to go into an example, sorry, Ben, I was going to go into an example. Did you have anything you wanted to add there? Okay. Yes, you may notice a trend. I'm using Oprah as an example yet again, but this is really, really cool too. If you've ever followed Oprah's career. So in her early career, her purpose was in media and storytelling. What do you notice there? Because for me, what I noticed there is like, if I were, and I'm not Oprah, right, cool, right? But if Oprah, like in her early days, her focus was on the how. You see that? It was on media and storytelling. It's a little surface level, isn't it? Especially when I think about the Oprah that evolved over time. It seems a little. Then in her mid-career, Notice it got a little deeper. She expanded into philanthropy and education. But later in her career, her focus was on spirituality and wellness, right? But what, in essence, if we were to look at, those are a lot of the how, but if we look at Oprah, right? I mean, like take that magnifying glass and look at early year, mid-career, and later year. What really is Oprah's purpose? Did it really change, or was it only the how that changed? I would argue it was the how that changed. She really wanted to change lives by sharing other people's stories. She wanted to empower them. That fellow. In fact, I'll share this. I don't know if for some of you probably already know, I have a quote by Oprah that always sits next to me. And it says, leadership is about empathy. It is about having the ability to relate and connect with people for the purpose of inspiring and empowering their lives. And I think that is her core purpose. So when you look at her purpose, it actually stayed the same throughout her career, but it was the how that really shifted, because as she got older, her knowledge, her experience shifted. She knew things, she experienced new things. So the how evolved. And can you see how it got deeper? Anything you'd like to add there, Ben?
That's a great observation from that how, and yeah, you nailed it.
Okay. So in summary, purpose is not a rigid, unchanging concept. It is dynamic and challenging, and can lead to deeper fulfillment and alignment with your true self. Remember, if you don't know what your purpose is, the world would create it for you. And that may not feel so good. Reflect on your current purpose and consider whether it still serves you. And if it doesn't, don't be afraid to make adjustments. For example, if you've accepted a purpose that somebody else has placed upon you, it's free will. You can change it. So I'm going to thank those that have joined us in Facebook land. And if you're not an Empower People member, you're going to want to be. I don't know why not. It's free, for gosh sakes. And then you can participate in the Q&A sessions. I want to say sections. I have a speech impediment problem with that. So hard. So take care. I'll see you guys later, and the rest of us will continue on.